All right, we have a special guest all the way from Montreal, Canada. You know, I was just on a show with Pete Shaw and Paul Tremblay. I assume you know them, fellow
Yeah,
Canadians.
they're all good guys, good friends. Good
So
friends.
you are in Montreal, CrossFit YUL, Mike Deboever.
That's it. That's you. You said it right. Usually people make a mistake when they pronounce my name or even the name of the gym because it's kind of weird. But yeah, no, you did it right.
Well, you gave me the heads up on the YUL. I was calling, whenever I see your pictures, I refer to it as UL. What does the YUL stand for?
So it's the airport code of Montreal. So when I met Reebok back in 2011, they were just partnering with CrossFit. No, I had no clue what the deal was, but when they offered to open up YUL, I mean, they asked me and a buddy of mine, the guy who was the head coach with me, to find a name. But in Quebec and Canada, so Canada has provinces, as you know, and Quebec.
Don't assume I know anything about geography. I did not know that.
There we go. So we have provinces, and so where PT and Pete and Reza are, so NCR is Ontario. So it's in Ottawa. So it's not Quebec. So we are in another province.
What's the United States equivalent of a province?
Oh boy!
Is it a state?
Oh
Is it just a state?
It's like, yeah, no, it's a state, yeah. And the size wise, Quebec is massive. Like you could take a plane and then fly for 4 hours up north and you're still in Quebec. That's how big it is until the North Pole. It's really, 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 really big. But
so it's more like a region than a state.
You could call it like that if you see it, but the province and state kind of like for the government is about the same. It's about it. We have a prime minister, in Quebec, and there's the prime minister of Canada, and
yeah, that's the dude that he's gotten in some trouble recently. What's his name? Trudeau.
Trudeau, yeah, Trudeau. He was telling hey, we're not going to stop any exchange with the United States, like Trump was saying, okay, so Canada is it's not an easy, it's a big country with a small population compared to the United States.
Yeah, but Canada is basically like we're all one and the same kind of. Like I know there's probably a lot of differences, but Canada, United States, very friendly, right? A lot of
we're brothers and sisters. We're the same. Okay, we're the same. There's a few point of views that are different. And my family lives in the U.S. They live upstate New York. That's how I've met Albany CrossFit at my beginnings.
Oh, is that how you? Is that So you and I have known each other. It must be going on 10 years.
Oh yeah.
And we've interacted for many different ways. And you were just one of those people. I don't know if you have people like this in your life for the listeners, that you're just like, you have like people that are like your friends, but you don't really know how you met them, and you just see them every so often. And that's kind of always been you in my life.
That's it. I call you like a satellite friend, like a friend I know without knowing. So it's, yeah, my parents they moved from Belgium in 2006 to Woodstock. And
oh, really? Woodstock, New York?
Woodstock, New York. It's beautiful over there. It's like down the 87. You get out of Socrates, and that's it.
Well, you really know that's where I grew up. But for those listening, you hear the word Woodstock, and you're like, oh, that's where the concert went down. That's not true. That was where it was supposed to go down, but then it actually went down in a town called Bethel, New York. So, little music information, little music trivia, if anyone's listening to that. So, because I was looking at doing a little bit of research. I don't do a ton of research for guests. I like to just kind of free flow and talk. But a couple of things about you are, yes, you own CrossFit YUL. I remember there was a time you were coming to Albany CrossFit, and then are you married now?
I was, and then unfortunately I'm separated and divorced. But
okay. Well, I didn't want to bring this up, but now that you say that, I can. Didn't you date a girl from the box for a while?
Yeah. So when my parents moved, I was in Belgium still, and I couldn't stand not traveling. So I would travel quite a bit. And then I met this girl named Carissa, and she's a good friend.
Carissa, that's it.
And so she met CrossFit through me, and I said, the best box you need to go. She was at a university in Albany, and so we were like, the best box you got to go. It's this Albany CrossFit has like racquetball courts and stuff. I'm like, racquetball courts? I'm like, yeah. Like you go down the stairs and they broke down the walls and shit. I'm like, what? And so she went there. She met. It was Austin. Austin was the White Knight at the time.
Oh yeah, wearing the skins, the white skins in the 2010 games.
She started, and now she joined the army, and she's in the army. She works in the offices and stuff. She moved to California, and she's a good friend of mine. And
are you guys still friendly?
Oh yeah, very well. Yeah. It's just it was tough, like a long distance, So she went on her way, and I went on my way, but we stayed good friends.
What's the trick to staying friends with an ex?
CrossFit.
I've never done it.
CrossFit is good. I mean, it's CrossFit. Like we, instead of arguing, you talk about CrossFit. Yeah. So what was your last friend time? And you win the argument if you beat the other one.
That works. It's funny because I was racking my brain. I couldn't think about her name. And then I was like, it's funny with CrossFit, and I'm sure just with life in general, as you age, you have all these people like you, like Carissa. I was like, who are just kind of like, where'd they go? And then as you say it and you hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I do remember she joined the military, and so it's just really fascinating to kind of look back on. So I definitely wanted to talk to you about a few things. I mean, you own a box. You're one of the few boxes these days that are still associated kind of like a Reebok CrossFit box. I know you are translating on the seminar staff. You've interned on the seminar staff. You've shaved your beard recently.
Yeah.
You're cancer survivor too, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And it's those are the cool little things, the little stories that I have with CrossFit. It was like in 2015, I was really inspired to be on staff, and then there was no staff needed then, and so I had to wait, and then went on my way with my affiliate that time, and then survived testicular cancer. Met Rory McKernan at the 17.1 that we hosted in Montreal at YUL, and found out that he had cancer as well. So everything is kind of linked, and I'm like, what the hell? It's really a small world and on a big planet, So it's a cool thing. It's a very cool thing.
So let's kind of dive into it from the top. First of all, you have a wonderful set of hair. You have a beautiful hair. You have very thick. That's something I've noticed about you. It's got grayer since we've met.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm afraid to post pictures from before. It's like I was dark like you, and then now it's like it's gray all over. Approaching my
So actually, let me start here. You got, obviously this is during the quarantine, during the, great pandemic of 2020, if you will, and this will be posted within a few days. So it's very relevant. What's going on in Canada right now? The United States, I would say 90% of boxes are shut down. What's the general theme in Canada? Is it the same here? Is it the same as the United States?
Yeah, we're completely, 90%. No, we are 100% closed. So completely closed. And it was on March 15th. It was a Sunday. I saw actually NCR closing, and I had seen a video from Ben Bergeron in Boston, and then I saw Paris with Daniel Chaffee from CrossFit France. They were all closing at the same time. So I was like, okay. Coming from Europe, living here, I can't just wait for our government in our province to just say so. It's too dangerous. I have a responsibility. And at some point, I can't just, I have to look up to, if I look up to people, I really have to follow them. And so when NCR closed, I really questioned me. And so I went and I closed the gym before the government said it. And then they closed it, a few hours after and forced everybody to close. So yeah, right now the struggle is really real. We have to really change our mindset on how we approach coaching our members. You know, what is motivation? Redefine what motivation is to work out at home again, and we have to change our mindsets to just keep it positive, because we have a role here. Like in the United States, every box owner probably has a role of a leader with their team. I mean, I'm not the only leader in my gym. All my team is our leaders, and we need to just keep people engaged. And it's a scary time, but we're all in this at the same time together. The government is trying to help us. It seems clear right now with the small businesses what they could do, but it's not. You know, we got to wait a little more. We got to wait a little more to see what's going on. You know, so you've got to focus on what's positive, and it's the challenge right now. You know.
So most of the boxes here in the States are going to these online courses or online classes, and, you know, trying to stay in contact with their members. What are some of the things you're doing at YUL to stay afloat, really?
All right. So, you know, like, all coaches are extremely motivated, and we're 6 coaches from all ages. We've got the youngest is 25 or 24. And then the oldest is 50 something. She's
oh wow.
Yeah, actually she was 5th at the games in 2016. She's Mira Singh, and she moved back to Quebec from BC, so west, and she is now one of my coaches. It's been 3 years, I think. And so we all have different approaches on how we coach people. I've got, you know, Lyle, this guy who gives live classes, yoga and, you know, CrossFit-ish type of class live every day at 11. I've got 2 coaches that are working out in their garage following the programming that we're doing. So they're showing people that it's possible to do with very minimum equipment. And then I've got, you know, Mira, who's giving classes with stretching. What I'm doing is more the private stuff. So I contact people and FaceTime them, and then just coach them one-on-one. And it's a bit more than just the fitness. It's just also the mindset that you should get. You know, like some people, we assume, trainers, that people are excited to go online and then follow a class on Zoom and stuff. Cool. But all I'm hearing is gyms with 200 plus members with classes with only 18 people on it. I'm like, how is this possible? That means that a lot of people are, you know, probably not motivated, or just afraid to get off the couch, or there, you know, it's like those habits are not there anymore, and we can't think that they will do it on their own. So I contact people, and I coach online privately and for free. So, I mean, it's relative, you know, free is a relative. We have members that are supporting us still. We're very lucky to do that. And so, you know, I coach them. I coach everybody that joins me, and I give them classes. I mean, online classes.
Have you had,
pretty much everybody is doing?
You know, it seems to me like across the States, it's been pretty supportive. You know, the members are staying supportive of the boxes. Have you found that to be the case for at least you guys? And do you know anything about the other boxes that are around you?
Well, I was making coffee this morning to this podcast. I have a hard time to pronounce the name, but it's the one that Michelle Letendre is doing. And she was talking about her gym and how she's extremely busy and very challenged as well. So it looks like members are supporting. Like, you know, we lost a lot of people, you know, paused membership and stuff, and just it's not an easy thing business-wise. We have to choose life over business right now, and it looks like CrossFitters around in Quebec are pretty supportive, you know. So you know, I'm hoping so, but that's the feel that I have right now. So there's a lot of talk between gym owners in Quebec, lots of it, because being a province where our main language is French, so we have French and English, but our main one is French. Box owners are looking for information, and are talking to their members that are sometimes left in, questioning on what's happening because of French and not understanding always English. It's not the easiest. So, we're a few, especially led, but your colleague Matt Brock, who's leading the pack there. If you have questions, you reach out to him, and he helps out. We're trying to relate the information HQ is giving. So, yeah.
Is there an anticipated date? I mean, right now in the United States, there's really no, date. I think a lot of people are thinking end of April, maybe end of May. What's Canada looking like?
So, like I was telling you, we have two prime ministers. We have one for Canada, and then we have one for the province, and they work together. Except when you listen to the one from Canada, he's very general. He's like the ones in Europe. They're saying a few months, and after the first big wave is going to hit us, we're going to go back to some sort of a mimic of normality, but without permitting everything. So schools might open, and he didn't talk about small businesses like us, like gyms, for example. So I'm afraid that it might be a no. He's talking for the end of the summer. So that's what he was saying. But then our prime minister in our province is talking early May, and I would really love to know how he's planning on to do so. I mean, it's really, really, I don't see it coming. I mean, our supermarket, I don't know how it is in Colorado, but our supermarkets, if you are from the same household, you can't come two people inside the supermarket. If you have got to be in line, you've got to be washing your hands when you go in. Now we've been told that next week we're going to be forced to wear a mask to go in, which is fine. I mean, but like the measures mid-April don't reflect what could happen early May. So, it's like, I almost want to have this wave right away. Like, I mean, I almost want to get hit by that COVID-19 virus and be like, okay, let's get over it. Again, it'd be stupid, but like, let's let it come. I'm eager to start back.
I think a lot of people are very much, without getting too deep into it, Fern does this all the time, but it's, there's definitely different trains of thought. And part of me agrees with you. It's like, hey, it'd be nice to, get it, let your body recover, etc. But then again, then you hear the stories of like, hey, this doesn't really care about health or age, so there's that concern as well. But let's take a step back and talk about kind of what you were mentioning earlier. It's like, hey, people aren't that excited to work out, and maybe it's because it's Zoom, or maybe it's because they're home. What are you doing? I can tell you from my end, every day is a different struggle, for everything, from training to being productive to, just going, I haven't been outside yet. So what are some of the things you are doing that are working, and what are some of the things that you've been struggling with?
So with all these, so I'm a competitor. I like to compete. Like I run the gym, of course, but I still like to say that I compete for fun, and it's great. So, but now all these sanctionals are down. So the goals of training have changed. I'm like, hey, if you don't train for a competition anymore, what do you train for? And so you train for life. And I have to revisit what I'm saying to all my members, revisit my goals. And so I wrote down what I wanted to really improve, and not like my 1 rep max snatch. I don't care about those things anymore. Like, I mean, it's not really something I want, but I'm trying to work on stuff that, what's cool, let me rephrase this. What's cool about this whole pandemic is that you need to focus on what you love doing as exercise. So I focus mainly on what I love doing, because it gets me going, But to afford doing this, I set a rule to myself that if I do 80% of all the things I love in the gym or in my garage or in my living room, because it's more of an outdoor garage. If I do 80% of the things I love, 20% need to be stuff I don't like so Like, for example, working a bit more on my mobility, my core stuff. So I started challenges, and I try to be as accountable as possible. And the best way for me to be accountable is to announce to my members on our Facebook group, hey guys, today I'm going to do the 7-minute core challenge. Want to join me? It's going to be at 6 p.m. and then I do a live video, and people just join in and do it with me, which is a good thing. I'm acting like one of my members, and so I make a plan. I keep a schedule. Today we're Friday, people. We have to remember that this is Friday. And what do I usually do on a Friday? Well, here's what I do. I coach in companies usually, so I'm going to be working out when I usually work out, when I'm used to, because that is going to keep me on schedule during my day, and that helps me. Because if you don't plan it, it's tougher. It definitely is tougher. I keep a schedule, and then I work on 80% what I love, and then 20% of what I don't love so much. And I respect rest days more than ever.
Everything you're saying is great. If people are, kind of trying to find their own groove, because I think one of the misconceptions from members, if they're members listening, it's like, oh, they're coaches, they're box owners, they're competitors, you're a pretty high level competitor, and it's like, don't think that we're not all going through this right now, and I like what you said about that 80-20, because that's something I've always told people. Like, when I'm lacking motivation for working out, I do a workout I like, and there's not, I think the term like is, relative. Like, no one likes doing thrusters, or toes to bar or burpees, but compared to other movements or heavier or lighter, so better off finding something you enjoy that gets you moving. This might not be the period of your life where you make the most progress in your fitness. It might be a period where you just kind of hang on, but at least moving is better than not. And I like some of the other things you said. Find some accountability, and if you're not currently going to your box's classes, that's probably something you should consider, and putting it in your calendar. Like, I'm taking the 6 o'clock class, or, when Mike throws out that challenge, I'm going to hop in. We need accountability right now. We need to do things we enjoy. When you talk about rest days right now, I know for me, that's been a struggle. I'm just like, I'm sitting around most of the day, I'm inside. The last thing I want to do is rest. Like, moving actually makes me feel better. So what are you doing on your rest days?
So yeah, that I was waiting for a question like this. On my rest days, I will do other stuff such that I don't have time usually. So here's a few things that I like to do a lot. Like currently, I'm learning about I'm studying my level 3. So I spend more time reading stuff. The material you can find on level 3 is either a video or, articles. And it's always more fun to listen to EC talk about nutrition on a video than to read an article about mobility that K-Star may have written. And so now I read more, right? So I take the time to read more. That's one thing. Another thing is a lot of people have Netflix right now, and instead of watching a movie, coming from Europe, I really love to watch documentaries, and especially about World War II, because that really touched me and my family when I was back in Belgium. So I watch a lot of that, and I do mobility stuff during that time. So I set myself to do a mobility den, because when I have an active day, when I'm supposed to train, mobility is still there, but I prefer to squat heavy that day, or I prefer to snatch with my dumbbell or run, or and I'm going to do a 10-minute mobility. Here, when the documentary is about an hour and a half, well, pigeon pose for 45 minutes is helping me, So, and then the third thing that I do besides reading and mobility, and it's cooking. Cooking is great. It's like I've been, as a trainer, I eat clean, but very simple. I'll grab the steak, I'll cook pretty quickly, grab the salad, and that's, it'll be it. But right now I'm tasting, good foods and just changing up a few things. And I find it really is relaxing with music in the background. I'm like, I don't take time to do that. So, but again, the first week was depressing. And now, I had to write down, I would love to do this. And I have a list, I write stuff down and hey, tomorrow, here's what I'm going to do. And it's helping me really. At the same time, I'm saying that the first week was very depressing. And now I'm, obviously everybody is kind of used to it. One big recommendation is do not get used to this situation. Or Friday, if tomorrow morning the Prime Minister says, Monday we're opening, I hope everybody's ready with the energy level, because, that's a tough one. We need to really go with our schedules and, writing down what we're doing. So yeah, on my rest days, that's what I do. Stretch, mobility, cook, take time to cook a bit more, and then read.
I think that's what a lot of people are trying to do, but I think a good point is, you have to write those things down. You have to remind yourself, because if you just wake up and you're like, oh, I'll do this today or I'll do that today, it doesn't happen. I have notes like everywhere. And I agree with you. I think a good point is we have to kind of adjust. We have to adapt to this, but we also shouldn't get comfortable in it. And, my goal is, hey, if I can leave this, when this ends, whenever that is, feeling like I bettered myself somewhere, maybe it's not, typically we only measure that by fitness, but if it's, I read this book, or maybe you've created something, or you've learned to cook, those are all great things. What's one documentary I should watch on World War? So one of the things similar to you is I'm trying to learn a little more about history during this time. I've got a great YouTube channel that I found that kind of does like 10-minute interesting cuts on different topics, but what's one documentary you'd recommend on Netflix?
So last night I watched, it was a movie. It was a movie, not a documentary, that I watched last night. And those are not known movies very much. I don't think they're big pictures movies, but they're worth watching because they are reminding us of human values. I find that World War II was a big lesson for the entire world. With values. And yesterday night I watched it in original language. It was tough because it's in Spanish. It was the photographer of Mauthausen, which is a concentration camp. And it's about this photographer, German soldier, who's taking pictures of prisoners, and he's helped by this Spanish prisoner. And it's a true story. Those are the rare pictures of concentration camps. And, it teaches you about human values. It teaches you about what human is capable of, and in a very negative way and a very positive way. And you can relate, obviously, I relate a lot. Like it really touched my family close. And so, these kind of movies, rather than watching, I love those Rambo movies, and I love those, like crazy funny, like, it's cool. But those movies where you're back into history and reminds you that we're very lucky with what we have right now. My girlfriend's with me, and I'm like, was telling her, she's from France, I'm from Belgium, we both live here. And she's like, we're very lucky to speak English and French. And we were very lucky. I wouldn't mind speaking, obviously, German if the values were very good, different from back then. But realizing how life can have a massive turn with events that happen to the humanity. And so right now we're going through something, and a lot of people are saying, there's going to be a before and there's going to be an after of this virus.
I agree. Yeah, for sure.
So, and a lot of people are also saying, it's going to be an opportunity to reset yourself and, go back to better yourself. Okay, good. Where do you start? How do you do so? As a business owner, the pressure is big. Like, how do you get your business to run better after? How do you change your human interaction? Like, CrossFit is not, again, like you've heard that, like it's not about thrusters and pull-ups. It's about interaction between humans. And how do you better that? Like how do you teach this? And as a head coach, how do you do that to your team? Knowing that everybody's coping with this differently. So all these things remind me that, it teaches me it helps me reflect on who I am, what I do in this world, in my small niche, in my small community. And again, I use World War II to learn from that. So those are rough movies, though. Like you might end up with tears, but those are like those are tears that are, to me, essential to might sound weird, but like, it's history is a very important thing. And I'm learning a lot through that, and trying to bring that in my real life right now. Like, okay, human interaction, what's going on, and I was, after watching one of those movies, I was talking with my girlfriend, we were cooking, and I was telling her, I saw discrimination, with COVID-19, with Asians and Chinese people in Canada or in the US. I'm like, how is this possible? Like, what have they done? It's like, let's help them, it's like, and then it's tough to slow down negativity right now, but that's what I learned from this, and that's how I try to educate myself a little more and be like, okay, well, what would I really do if it was just the right thing to do? Integrity, what would it be? And I translate that in my real, in my everyday life, especially at the gym. How do I bring this back together? When we reopen, do I assume everybody's going to come back? How do I talk to my coaches? How do I hear them about what they want to do?
What are some of those things that you've talked about with your coaching staff, or with other boxes around? What are your expectations? Say the government is accurate and early to mid-May you can open back up. What are some of the changes you envision making at CrossFit YUL?
So I've got two big topics right now that I'm really focusing on, and they keep me up at night. It's a challenge. So we have a concept at YUL where we do clinics. We call them clinics. I have a coach who does a bit more of a functional bodybuilding type of workouts, like tempo workout, breathing, and coaches have the opportunity to do that and promote it with our members. And we have a fee for this, and it's an extra fee, and the coach makes a bit more money for this, so his salary is better. However, it's very tough to bring this to all of our members because some of the coaches are only available at certain times. And so what I'm trying to do is to have this available for all coaches and all members, which is a challenge in terms of knowledge, because all the coaches have different type of, they come from different backgrounds. And so I have to bring all the coaching staff together. That is my staff is really supportive of one another. We're really a super team, honestly. We're probably the best team in Northeast, probably. But and one of your colleagues now, Val Boileau, maybe you've met her. She's on staff just recently, and so we are working all together to try to bring those clinics to all of our members. And it's a challenge when we're going to be reopening. What clinic do we do? Because we have so many topics that we want to talk about. That's number one. Number two is we made a mistake in 2011. Reebok came on board, and Reebok's energy was, let's make it big. Let's make it the biggest. Let's go with the biggest rig, the most rowers, the most, 12,000, almost 13,000 square feet gym. Let's do it. So it's a massive gym. It's a big, big gym. We need, and when we opened, it was like, all right, we need to offer the best service ever and be the greatest and show that Reebok is friendly with everybody, which I think is awesome. But I was too young. I was too young. So I'm still learning for the business. I'm a CrossFitter, and I've always been a CrossFitter, and I made sure that Reebok wouldn't tell me what to do. I love Reebok. It's awesome, but I don't want them to tell me what to do or sell shoes. That was perfectly clear. But the service we were offering was, all right, let's open 10 hours a day right off. And we had no members. And so when we opened, obviously, we were very popular. So members came in, like a lot, we're not the $1 million gym, but close to be, like, we were a lot of members. And now I'm like, okay, well, what is CrossFit really? CrossFit is really the energy of a class, like a class of 2 or 3 people compared to a class of, 24 people and multiple coaches on the floor are not the same. How do you duplicate that same energy? So now the challenge is revamping the schedule. Does that mean we need to remove classes, add different types of classes? So those are the challenges I'm going through right now, and that I'm trying to make. I don't believe in the saying that says, you can't make everybody happy. I think you can't make everybody 100% happy, but you can have some impact into their happiness. So if I can give a 1% happiness at all of my members, I'm happy. But thinking that I can't make everyone happy is wrong, because then I'm going to take a decision where I know it's going to be not the right one for some of my members. I can't accept some of my members to be sad or upset or mad. I can't. So the challenge is to find, what's the right target here? Like, how am I going to touch everybody at least 1% positive? And so that's, I'm with everybody. Literally, it's my phone is buzzing. It's like for the first time, iPhone I could see is like this thing is warm at night, So, but I chose to be in this situation, so.
I think a lot of what you're saying, and for box owners that they're listening, similar to the members, members were talking about, hey, use this as an opportunity to better yourself, better your life, focus on some things. I mean, we all claim to be too busy, so whether it's reading, cooking, watching documentaries, now's the time. But also for box owners, it's almost like that time to reboot, right? It's almost like that time to say, hey, I'm going to focus on a few things that typically, go on the back burner, but now we can do that, and I can work to make everybody happy.
We're almost a 10-year affiliate, almost. And I've heard it many times from box owners. They were like, dude, if I had to reopen my gym, I wouldn't do it this way. I would do it that way. I've learned so much. Cool. Now is the time. Let's do it. Like, if you really say so, go ahead. Just revamp the whole thing. Don't be afraid. And what would be your perfect gym? Like, really, what is it that you were struggling with before this virus came on? It's like, what is it that you would change and better? Is it your system to manage members? Is it the way you handle staff meeting? Is it, one thing about staff meeting, a good friend of yours, Austin Maliolo, back in 2014, when I did my internship and I was with him and James Hobart and all the gang in Reebok One, I was very impressed to hear that Austin would times wake up very early to send a message to his coaches under the form of the video. Or at night, would stay up at night and just answer an email and send a meeting to his coaches. And I was like, why? Why is this guy doing this? And I never thought it would be so important for me to do the same thing, but he understood it back in 2014, 2015. And now I'm like, okay, well, wait a second. I thought he was doing this because he was important at Reebok and because he had so many members. And, I would hear stuff such as 6:30 a.m. class with so many, employees going. I'm like, what, how? Like, we don't have that. We have 8 people at 6 a.m. I don't need to do a staff meeting. But I found out that these staff meetings were actually going to be very, very, very important. And I started. Got closer to my coaches, got closer with staff meeting and stuff that we could do even, on a live video, on a FaceTime call if you couldn't see them. And we went from 8 members to 10 to 12 to 14. And so now stuff that I couldn't quantify back then are now better. So I focus on that as well. I mean, when we're going to come back, I challenge any of the box owners to write down during this COVID-19, to write down their protocols of action in their gym. If you didn't write it down yet, dude, do it. I mean, how do you sign up a member? Write it down on a piece of paper. How do you start a class? Write it down on a piece of paper. Everything. How do you use your gym? How do you clean it? How do you speak to a new member? How do you manage that? Everything, every protocol needs to be written down. It's a homework. It's something that might be, dude, I don't really want to do that. And it's a bit, I don't need to do it anyway. Just take 15 minutes to 20 minutes a day. Do it like you would work on your weaknesses. Like you don't like burpees, perfect. Just give me a few every day. I'm not asking for you to write all the protocols in one morning, but start with one. Start with the easy protocol. How do you open up your gym? Write it down. You don't think it's necessary? It's very necessary. And Canada is a market that has always been behind the United States, or some states in the United States. We're very close, but for this, I think we are behind. And we start to see that gyms are very successful because they do so. Like I was talking to PT again and at NCR. And to Paul and Pete, they do that, and they're very successful. And we need to look up to people like that. And by doing that, well, then your gym is going to be the best gym ever. What would you do if you had to reopen your gym 10 years ago with what you know today? Do that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Obviously for box owners right now, they need to be hosting some of those online classes, and they need to be reaching out to members just like you're doing. But they also need to be focusing on what they're going to do when the box reopens, because inevitably, hopefully that's what's going to come next. And yeah, all these things that we avoid because we're too busy. Yeah, if you could show back up at the box with a book, or at least a couple of Google Docs of system protocols, and here's how you open, here's how you close, here's what cleaning looks like, here's, how you update our member processing system, everything. And then it's just hands off. If I were doing it right now, I would do it. I would probably give it to one of my coaches and say, obviously you can't maybe put it into practice, but I'd say, hey, does this look, am I missing a step? Get people to check it out. It's a great idea. So like me, we're kind of on hold for seminars. You translate for the seminar staff right now. What has that experience been like for you?
Oh, okay. So that's the it's one of the greatest opportunity I've got. It sounds cliche, but it's one of the greatest opportunities. Because I used to really envy all these guys upstate New York and Northeast, like Spencer and all these. When we opened, they would come to YUL and give level 1s and level 2, and I would be like, wow, the camaraderie and the team that they have is how do they do so? And they're not even in the same gym. And then with Mathieu Dubrac here in Quebec. He's a full master. Well, he managed to do so. The same thing. So the Canadian crew is truly incredible people. And I'm lucky to just be on board with them to translate. So HQ, I sent my resume and I said, hey, you know what? I'm not on staff. I did the internship. You might not need a guy right now. They're looking for girls more. But I could translate. My main language is French, from France, and Belgium. And I could totally do that. And so it's been a really awesome pleasure. Translating is not easy. Translating, you've got to be transmitting the exact same emotion that the coach, the red shirt, is saying. And I've caught myself a few times. I hear Pete Shaw, talking about programming. That's the best translation we have. Like, it's our best gig, I find, when he does the programming lecture. And he's going to be joking. You know, people are really listening a lot. And so they're like trying to understand exactly what programming means, but he brings it with some jokes and some, you know, cool stuff to make people realize that it's not complex. You just need to understand. And so I have to catch up on him and do the same joke, but in French. And to not, you know, otherwise the other attendees that are only speaking French are like, okay, why are the English people laughing? And why are, you know, what's the joke? And so I've got to, it's fun. It's fun because I'm very tired at the end of the weekend. Your brain is fried, that's for sure. You know, but it's, I feel extremely lucky to be able to do that. Now is a bit less gigs, obviously, because they all speak French and English, but they have that French that is from Quebec, which is to me, not to all Quebecers, to me is a slang. It's like you know, it's like if you're from England and you hear American, you know, the English from America, it's not the same, not the same. So sometimes it's pretty cool. It's funny. So I like to be with these guys. It's an opportunity, and it gets us closer. That's how I'm good friends with the guys in NCR. That's how I know, you know, obviously Jason McDonald as well, you know, from West. It's super cool. I mean, seeing how CrossFit is growing like this is awesome to see.
So do you still have that goal of getting on staff in a complete red shirt capacity at some point?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I know you mentioned you're studying for your
the
level
way I
3.
approach it is, you know, I'm gonna. Yeah. So right now the challenge is anybody who wants to apply. You know, obviously there needs to be a spot. You also don't just apply to a job. CrossFit, being on staff to me is not just a job. Like, it's not something you apply just because you're jobless and you want to have a job. No. No. You've got to be this special human being. You've got to be this. You've got to have it. Like, if you don't, like, and you don't just, you have to be like Mathieu says, Matt, he says, you've got to be a ruby. You've got to be a precious thing. Like, you have to be that diamond that we need to really see that spark come up. It's not about your Instagram following. It's not about your snatch or your back squat. It's about how can you relate to every single human being you're going to crack with. And so that is, you know, more than any other field. I find that the staff, the red shirt, requires that. So I understood that only in 2015. And so I've been working on that. Like, it's tough. Like, I was a person that used to be shy, you know, so you can't be shy. And when Austin told me, you have to talk louder, I was literally shaking when he told me this. I'm like, man, dude, like, I mean, louder. You're asking me to go against my biggest fear. So yeah, I'm still planning on becoming a red shirt. At the same time, I also became very good friends with all the guys in Canada, and I need to be sure that, you know, we all have a job. Like, you know, like you have Paul, I have Pete, I have Benoit, I have Matt, that's only East. Imagine there's guys on the West. I mean, we have one girl, you know, Valerie is one girl. So I'm not a girl. So, you know, I'm a guy. So, you know, right now I know for a fact they don't need a guy, but, you know, if I could work on being a bit more exceptional and, you know, be useful for HQ, this is something it's my future. I mean, it's natural. It's not even something I need to think about. It's just it's the normal step of my career right now. So I was talking to HQ actually last week. I was lucky enough that someone from HQ called me, Paula, from the affiliates, and you know, like, being on staff is one thing, but also helping affiliate owners is the other thing. And whatever it is that will make CrossFit evolve, I totally am on board with it. That it's on staff, that it's with translating, that it's with communication from HQ to Quebecers that are speaking only French. anything is going to be something that, it's not a job. It's not a job. If you call it a job, you'll quit after a month.
Oh yeah. And not only that, we've seen plenty of interns come and go that are doing it for those reasons, and they're ultimately it's the first thing we pick up on, and they don't typically go very far after that.
No. Well, so it's important to realize that right before.
All right, Mike. I've got other podcast interviews I have to get to. As crazy as it is being quarantined, I find that I'm making my day super busy, but I'm looking forward to checking out some history documentaries like you mentioned. For those that want to check you out, Mike, to see more of your story or to check out the box, where can they go on social media, the internet, etc.?
So the number one is at Reebok CrossFit YUL. It's on Instagram, and then you've got at Mike Deboever. And when usually you follow people on Instagram, what's cool about it is, and what I recommend, is that when you click on my name to hit follow, it suggests who you should follow after. And look up for my staff. I think they're the greatest. So look up for my staff. We're 6. Look up for the other 5. Some are very known and some are less known, but worth to get to know. And they're very open in chatting and advising and giving tips about coaching and how to manage anything in classes. They're awesome. So don't just follow me if it's to follow me. Just look up for my staff as well.
Well, that's great, Mike. And I'm hoping that everybody does that. It's been an honor, pleasure talking to you to become hopefully one day we'll be more than just satellite friends,
For sure. I'm going to be looking for that best hour of the day shirt that I need to buy from you. I need to.
We'll get it. Yeah.
Let me know where I can get it.
It's sold out. It's sold out, Mike. But we'll get you one once it goes back on again. All right. Well, have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your quarantine. Do 80% of the things you like, but make sure you do those 20%. And hopefully enjoy a nice meal and movie with your girlfriend tonight.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mike. Good talking to you.
See you, Jay.
Thanks for listening to Best Hour of Their Day. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. How cool is that? There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, so it becomes super simple. Some of these episodes with Fern or Todd or myself chatting with one another, we've done right within the app itself. Anchor will make it easy to distribute your podcast to all platforms, Spotify, Apple, and many more. And you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make an awesome podcast in one place. All you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Come on, who doesn't have Spotify at this point? And if you were unaware, Spotify now is offering podcasts. That's right, on Spotify you can listen to all your favorite artists, but also podcasts in one place for free. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now, Best Hour of Their Day. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Premium users can even download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, something I always do before I hop on a plane. And you can even easily share what you're listening to with your friends on Instagram and other social media platforms. Here's the deal. If you haven't done so already, be sure to download the Spotify app, search for Best Hour of Their Day on Spotify, or browse some other podcasts if you want. You can find them in your library tab. And also make sure to follow me so you never miss an episode of Best Hour of Their Day. Thanks again for listening to Best Hour of Their Day, and thanks again to our special guest. We appreciate all you guys do for us with Best Hour of Their Day when it comes to sharing our posts on Instagram, when it comes to subscribing to us on YouTube, when it comes to the constant feedback. We are grateful and we appreciate it. We are trying to build a community based on coaching development and becoming the best version of yourself. And it goes without saying that we couldn't do without all of you. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Season 1 of Dropping In is out. We are getting tremendous feedback and we'd love for you to check it out. Leave us a comment on there. Head over to our Instagram. Give us a follow. Like our pictures. Feel free to share anything that resonates with you. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or feedback for us, please don't hesitate. Email us besthouroftheirday@gmail.com. Thanks again. Until the next episode, we hope you've had the best hour of your day.